This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
The award-winning Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Hodges University. Build the future you at Hodges University.
Good morning, Southwest Florida. Yes, we are still at the Cape Coral Police Department, and I must say that the accommodations have just been fabulous here. Big shout out to Dana Costin for his outstanding work, the Director of Public Affairs here. We have a fabulous show in store for you today, and speaking of a fabulous show and the Cape Coral Police Department, we're going to actually get a chance to talk to a real live detective here. Get a chance to talk to the Detective Sergeant David Gleason. He'll be here in the first part of our show. Second part of the show, we'll find out all about real estate, and we're going to see what's going on with real estate in Cape Coral, too. We'll get a chance to talk to Louis Spate. He's a realtor with Bill Moran Real Estate. All that's happening on Lee Pitts Live. Keep it locked. We'll be right back. Southwest Florida, I'm so delighted to have here in our midst a real live detective, just like in the movies. Detective Sergeant David Gleason of the Cape Coral Police Department. Let me bump you in, man. Just touch me right there. Make sure you turn that logo around and sit that back down so it can be seen. There you go, man. There you go.
There we go.
Hey, man, first of all, is it fair to say that you are not undercover, that you are now on this TV show?
That'd be fair to say, Lee. That would be fair to say.
How did you first get into law enforcement?
Well, I've been with the Cape Coral Police Department for about 16 years. Moved down to Southwest sunny Florida. I mean, who wouldn't want to be here?
With technology as it is now, does that make fraud more difficult? And what are some of the key things that we need to be looking for that are easy to avoid in terms of fraud?
As technology has progressed, frauds have progressed. And they just change. They change to adapt to get their money any way they can.
Okay.
That's the thing about fraudsters. They'll take any avenue that they can to get your money, separate you from it. You asked some common frauds, I think, is what you were asking about. One of the common frauds that we find around here that's relatively easy to avoid if you know what you're looking for is rental frauds. What we have down here is a lot of people, they want to come to Southwest Florida. They want to come down here to visit, down here to vacation. And with the technology, as we were just discussing, they have started trying to book online instead of calling down to a local travel agency like they used to do. Now what they'll do is a lot of homeowners nowadays, instead of listing with a local realtor, what they'll do is they'll put it like on a website. They'll put their information, how much they'll take pictures, and then they'll put how much
your whole house and everything.
How much the rent is there, and then somebody from Massachusetts, somebody from Canada, they'll go online, and then they'll book on there, and then they'll come down and they'll stay in those homes.
Wow.
Fraudsters take advantage of that middleman, the online booking thing, and they'll put a fake listing online. And what happens is then somebody, unknowingly, they go on, they think that they're booking with a homeowner, and they're sending their money off to somebody that doesn't even own a home down here.
Unbelievable.
Worst part about it is, Lee, is by the time they get here, they're down here.
Send in that security deposit and all of that.
All of it, hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. They book sometimes up to $13,000, $15,000 to stay for a month, what they think is on the river, in a home. And they'll get down here, not until they knock on that door and some unsuspecting homeowner opens it up do they realize they've been scammed.
Okay, how can one avoid that?
Well, what we recommend is when we get a lot of these calls, because this is starting to be a prolific scam, what we recommend people to do is they actually call, instead of booking online and trying to save a few dollars by cutting out a realtor, we tell them call into like a chamber of commerce, call down to your Better Business Bureau and actually get a hold of somebody, an identifiable person down here that's actually in the business of renting, of real estate, and work with them directly. Not only does that assure that you're going to have a place to stay when you get down here, but if something goes wrong, there's somebody to hold accountable. So there's somebody you can sue, there's somebody that you can track down, and you get here and there's somebody in there, there's an entity, somebody who's real, somebody who's licensed through the city to be doing this, their vocation.
I never thought about that, man. This is so interesting right now just to have you here. I just never thought about it. Now, the fact that we live in an area that's more touristy, that would make it even more high probability to good weather, people trying to get that seasonal
They,
rental.
they don't have a lot of this problem booking, out in Montana,
Right.
as much as it is here. We call it paradise down here, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I think we do in Florida. So, but it happens quite frequently. That's one very avoidable fraud that
Right.
we try to get out there to everybody.
Okay, hit us with another one. What another common one?
Well, other kinds of frauds that we have are like
Right.
skimmers.
Okay.
Have you heard of those?
No.
Okay, a lot of the people, they're getting these charges on their credit cards, and it's from gas pump skimmers. Now, a lot of people ask us to say, how do I know what a gas pump skimmer looks like, right? Do you know what a gas pump skimmer looks like? Nobody does. They all assume it's this piece that fits on top of like a debit, like you'd think you'd slide your card into. So a lot of people, they go up to these gas pump skimmers and they try to wiggle them, and if they don't pop off, they think that they're safe. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is these gas pump skimmers, they actually are inside the pump. You actually have to take keys and you have to open the pump up, and it looks like a computer ribbon. You would never know it's there if you don't open up the pump and know what you're looking for.
That skimmer does what?
What that does is once you swipe your card through that gas pump, like pay at the pump, once you swipe your card through there, it just your card information passes through that skimmer and goes right on in its correct path. And when it passes through that little device, it just hangs onto it. And so your transaction,
Now you got all your credit card information.
but your transaction goes through, so you have no idea that you've been skimmed.
Unbelievable. Now, those types of things like that, it gets down still to the local level, like to, say, you, a detective at the Cape Coral Police Department. It is handled local, even though it seems like some kind of national thing.
With the skimmers,
Right.
most skimmers operate locally. I'll just go into a brief example for you. Somebody decides that they want to make some quick money. So what they'll do is they'll figure out how to build these skimmers. At nighttime, they might go in, they'll unscrew these locks, and they'll go in, and then they'll install these skimmers, and they close them back up, and then they go on their way. They'll let them sit there as people just go and they pump gas, and they keep putting their pay at the pump, and they keep putting their credit cards in there. And they'll come back a week or two later, and at nighttime usually, and they'll open that pump back up, they'll take it off. They might replace it with a new skimmer, or just plug it back up like it was never there and disappear. They go home, and then they download that information all on their computer. At that point, they usually do one of a couple things. Usually, they'll either sell that information online, like in the dark net. There's a lot of places on the internet that people will pay a lot of money for good and recent credit card information. Or what they'll do is, if they're really advanced, they have something called a card writer. You can pay, and you can actually go out and you can actually write your own credit cards. And they'll take that information, and they'll take Lee Pitts' information, and they'll burn it on a credit card, and then they'll go out and they'll start spending your money. And that's when you start seeing on your credit card statement, I never bought this,
Right.
I never went here, I never went there, and that's usually as a result of skimming.
And I need to make sure that I do a lot of transactions to get those points on my credit card, small transaction, whatever. I need to, when I pay my bill, I need to look at each transaction and don't get too comfortable, because it could be something occurring all the time, right? Or something
Absolutely.
could slip by me.
Absolutely. Most of these credit card companies, if they're fairly reputable, like they're bigger, they have some pretty good screening. Now they've gotten, again, just as the crooks have gotten better about these frauds, the credit card companies have identified patterns, and they'll call you.
I'm glad you said that, Detective, because what I was going to say is that as intelligent and as smart as you are, the crooks are constantly trying to get smarter, so it's a constant battle of who can outsmart whom, right?
It sure is.
So people need to be aware that these people who do what they do are not low-end flim-flam mans like we remember in the old days with like some cars and...
They're not breaking windows
Right.
and taking car radios.
Right.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, these
Right.
guys have some technical expertise in what they're doing.
Now, there's a high percentage of people who are receiving threatening phone calls and demanding money.
If I can, real quick, to finish up on the skimmers thing, a couple things I would get out to the public. I would tell them never use your debit card to pay at the pump, ever, because that takes cash out of your checking account, right? If you use your credit card and you see there's a transaction that doesn't belong in there, you call up your credit card company and you can dispute it. You don't lose money.
Gotcha.
Okay? Never use debit at pay at the pump.
And I use my American Express, so I'm lucky.
There you go.
But not that I was doing it because of what you're saying. Now I'm going to keep doing it.
Right, but never ever, because that's rent money. That's coming right out of your checking account.
Okay.
Never use that. That's the big one, and constantly monitor your credit. for
Okay, now
anything else.
let's move to, with about 3 minutes left, let's move to the demanding money?
IRS. IRS doesn't call up demanding and threaten to arrest you if you don't give them money. They don't do that.
Okay.
They're pretty bad, but they won't ever come and kick down your door. They'll never threaten to come and kick down your door and arrest you if you don't go to Walgreens and wire them money now.
Okay.
Won't happen. So just don't fall for that if that happens. If you ever have any
Pretty
doubt,
common?
they go around, but it's a fairly common thing. Anybody that calls you and threatens you with an arrest under the guise of authority, don't do it. It's a scam. And if you're not sure, come in and ask us.
And we hear all these commercials on TV about identity theft.
Yes.
What can we do to protect ourselves?
I would tell anybody out there that doesn't own a shredder yet, buy one. Buy a shredder. Or if there's a safe place, you have a fire pit, or if you have like a fireplace, safely burn your documents, anything with personal information on it. These guys that go through, they'll go through at landfills, they'll go through recycling bins, and they'll take anything with your account number on it. And identity thieves are ruthless. If there's a way, they will capitalize on it.
When you're protecting yourself from identity theft, so to speak, you cannot be too paranoid. I can't be too.
Absolutely not. There is no such thing as too safe. Matter of fact, one other tip we give people is make sure you have a good antivirus on your computer. If you ever receive an email from your bank saying, "Hey, click here," don't ever click there on the link inside an email. Usually those are fake. They look very real. We recommend people go to a stored version of the link so they can go to their favorites that they've used many times before, or search Google for your particular, like Bank of America. More often than not, when you Google Bank of America, that first result that pops up there, going to be an accurate one, as opposed to clicking on a Bank of America link inside of an email.
I got you.
Got it?
Got you.
Okay.
Now, what's the quickest way we can know if somebody has stolen our identity?
As we were just discussing a little bit, is constantly monitor your credit. There is no such thing as being too paranoid. Okay. There's a couple of options. One, I would tell people that credit monitoring services, there's some paid ones that you can get. A lot of people have heard or seen advertisements. There's also some free ones out there. I'll throw it out there just because I've heard a lot of good feedback on it. It's Credit Karma. Is a free one that will just tell you your credit scores and if any big changes happen. It's free, and the idea is just to stay involved with it, constantly be watching it.
Detective, I've been doing this show for 25 years, and I must say I've never interviewed a detective, but this information is just unbelievable. We got to get you back on the show in the future. We've run out of time, Ken. You promised me that you'll come back in the future since I autographed your cup.
We'll see what we can do, Lee.
All right, man. Keep up the good work. Stay right there. As the saying goes on this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they are usually interrupted by those like this fine detective who are doing it right here at the Cape Coral Police Department. When we come back, we're going to talk real estate right here in Southwest Florida.